So this conference, of course, is titled Leadership Conference. What does that mean, and what's the value of that?
You know, leadership is a tough subject because people think that you're either born with leadership skills or you're not. And so conferences like this allow us to bring leadership as a training tool and start to help people understand that leadership can be learned. It may not be your primary forte when you walk into a conference with leadership training going on, but you're going to learn something about being a better leader before you leave at the end, and so you'll walk back into your role as a better leader than when you came. So it's important that our AP leaders, that our procure-to-pay leaders understand that leadership is so much of what they do, whether they are trying to influence senior management to give them capital funds to do automation, or they're trying to bring their team up to a new level of development and continuous improvement mindset. All of those things require leadership skills. So even if somebody doesn't think they're a leader, they are leading every day. So giving them some tools and equipping them to go out and be better leaders is an important aspect of being successful.
Great, thanks. This year the conference brought in the procurement aspect. We've talked about procure-to-pay for a long time. This time we incorporated it into the conference. How do you see that? What's your thoughts about that move and that change, and how has that made a difference in this conference?
I think it brings the conference to a whole new level. So it takes a department and it realigns it so that we have a process. So now we have end-to-end, and it may not be everyone's end-to-end today, but whether AP likes to admit it or not, depending on their relationship with their procurement organization, everything comes from somewhere upstream, and procurement is the main upstream place. So building that relationship, having procure-to-pay conversations, starting a dialogue if there isn't one, it's a very important piece of running an accounts payable organization. You really will end up friends with your procurement organization at some point in your career if you're a successful AP leader.
Great, great. What is there a particular event or session or thing that happened at the conference that
you know, I really liked the session that Tom Golden did on fraud. I think it is one of those things that if it happens to you, you never forget the constraints of what can go on around any fraud situation. And I think it's a great reminder that while we all start at a level of trust, having that verify piece it doesn't make people think you don't trust them, but it's just a step in the process. And I think he brought to light some of that. It's always fascinating to hear a forensic auditor's stories because you can automatically relate them to something going on day to day in your life. And so, you know, as someone in an AP who's seen fraud happen underneath her, it's always a great reminder that no one is immune from fraud and that all kinds of things go on that relate to it. And so as leaders of AP organizations, we owe that to our companies to know that that's possible and what it looks like. So I thought he did a great job.
Great, thanks. I understand there were quite a sort of a range of titles here of people in the registrants, the attendees, from AP staff to vice presidents. Did you encounter that, and what are your thoughts on that?
I did encounter it. In almost every session that I attended or that I led, we had a wide range. And what's great about that is, especially at a conference that has leadership in its title, you are growing leaders. So you have dialogue in the room where the CFO says something that, and it's at a much different level because he has a much different point of view than someone who is a supervisor, frontline, or staff person working the day-to-day. But that staff person and that supervisor, that frontline, they learned from what he said. And more importantly, he learned from what they said, because sometimes as we move up, we forget what we knew when we were part of the team, the nuts and bolts, if you will. And so it reminds everybody, right, that it takes the whole ship to keep it be in the right direction.
Great. Thanks very much.
Sure.